Hey everyone, welcome back to Hacky Lessons for another deck profile, and it's another Big Mum profile. I have taken my last list and I was about to pull it apart and build Black Yellow Big Mum, but I thought, wait, I have something I want to try. So I slapped something together and it's a bit more focused on triggers, playing cards with triggers. Like, obviously the homies build does that as well, but it's more focused on playing stronger cards than the homies. So it's not a homies build, basically. Let's just leave it at that. And it was feeling pretty good, so I took it to Store Champs, and I ended up going 4-1 with it. So I bubbled out of the top 4, coming 5th, which is really annoying, but what can you do? That's just how these things work out sometimes. But 4-1, and I only lost the second last round, which was against the person who ended up winning the whole thing. So pretty good result, really. So before we get into the list, let's talk about the matchups. Now, I'm not recording this as early as I would have liked to. It's been about a week since I played it, but I woke up sick and then I haven't had a voice until now. And even now it's a little bit it's not perfect, so apologies for that. So let's hope my memory doesn't falter on this. So round 1, I had to play against Trafalgar Law, and I think this might have been my hardest matchup. It was very good player playing the deck. I had good control over the entire game, but I got to the point where I needed to go in for game, and he had 4 blockers in the way. I was like, jeez. I managed to do it though. A little bit of luck on my side, but not really, because the way the Big Mum leader works, you make your own luck. So I put cards in my life with triggers that I wanted to go off. So he's attacking me, he's trying to go for game this turn, he knows he can't win if he doesn't. And he hits Eco Sovereignty, so that has a trigger that lets you trash 2 cards from your hand to recover a life. So basically, that's one less attack that he has, in a way. So that was enough for him to give up, but I don't think it mattered. I had enough counter power in my hands anyway. Getting rid of the blockers was, it was a challenge, but I had the tools for the job. I had Katakuri Secret Rares, I had Thunderbolts, so it was alright. And also baiting them, just making him block with them. Round 2. So round 2 I had to play against Ace, and this was, I had everything going for me. I made a point of keeping Big Mums on mulligans, and when I searched with pudding. So I got to a point where I had 2 Big Mums out at the same time, and he was just like, ugh. It's pretty daunting to be on the other end of, I know, but gotta do it. So round 3 was Rob Lucci. And this was a matchup I was pretty well prepared for, because it's basically what I've been practicing against most of the time, so I wasn't really too concerned. And pretty similar situation to the Ace game, where I had all my Big Mums and it just crushed his spirits. So sorry about that. Round 4 was against Katakuri. This was the eventual winner. And this was it was interesting, because I definitely did not have anywhere near as much luck as I did in rounds 2 and 3. I had no turn 1 play. Pretty much no turn 2 play either. I was at a point where he had a big board and I was just attacking my leader, and that was it. But I got to the point where I had whittled him down enough. I had 5 cards in hand, and so he could go for game here. But I got the 5 cards in hand, so maybe he backs off a little, maybe he plays it cautiously. Like, he could have put some Don on one of his smaller characters, attacked the beta counter, and then attacked with the leader. And if he had done that, I would have been fine. But he assumed that my whole hand was no counters, and he was correct. So he put all his Don on his leader and attacked. I'm like, yep, alright, I'm done. So I lost that game. That's how it goes. And then round 5 was against Magellan. So that was a very interesting one. It was only the second time I ever played against a Magellan. So in theory, I don't know the matchup well, but I did. I know, he's going to make me lose Don. And so I'm going to never get to play my big 10 cost Big Mums or whatever. So I played to that. I I filled the board with smaller characters, and I just like rookie rushed him in a sense. Little cards did the job for me, and I even had a fun little thing I did intentionally where with the Big Mum leader ability, I swapped a Thunderbolt into my life. So when he triggered it, I can kill his 6-cost McGowan without losing a Don, because that only works if I kill it on my turn. So I killed it on his turn because he was attacking me. So that was funny, and so that was a fun matchup actually. But that's about it. I probably would have said more if it was fresher in my memory. So apologies for that. Let's get into the list now, though. So the leader is Big Mum, of course, and she gets to intentionally swap cards from your hand into your life once you have 3 life. So you basically don't mind taking the first 2 life, because you want to get to the point where you can be intentionally putting good stuff in your life and making your opponent regret letting you trigger them. Half of the list is probably about the same. I've got the obvious stuff. We've got 4 copies of Pudding, doing the searching. 4 copies of Sanji is a nice turn 1 play. If you don't mind doing it, it essentially draws you a card when you attack with him, because you're taking a life, putting it into your hand, and then taking a card from the top of your deck and putting it on top of your life. That's good. Against Ace, it's like my go-to turn 1 play, and against Ace, I'm like, I can't do it because I know that he has a Seaquake in his hand. I saw him search for it, so I never played it. And like the Ace matchup was kind of weird because I was playing around his removal so much. I didn't have really any board to speak of, but it didn't matter because I got to the point where I could put my bigger cards out, my Katakuri and my Big Mum. 3 copies of the 2K counter Pudding. My old build had 4, but I've dropped it to 3, and in its place I've put not 1 but 2 copies of Surendra, and he's just a tech choice. If you come up across like 1-cost blockers or whatever, he can deal with that. But I never used it for that. He was just 2 tech counters. We got the Brûlé blockers. They play off trigger. That's what we want in this deck. A little holdover from my homie build, 2 copies of Zeus. I just really like Zeus. If you get him out, give your Big Mum Banish. I like Banish. I think I only did it once, and I regretted doing it because, it was in the match against Katakuri. I triggered him. It was a bit earlier before I was sort of like, thinking about how much counter power I need. It was unnecessary. He had blockers in the way, so I wasn't going to get banished through anyway. And then if I had had him in my hand, I would have had enough counter power to live and then clap back the next turn. So there you go. 4 copies of Perospero. So you might have noticed if you watched my homie's build, there was no Perosperos in there, and that was just because too many cards without counter power. But in this build, he's in there, and he's pretty good because you get to play him from trigger and trash a card, and then if he dies, he does that top 3 search. So that's pretty cool. 4 copies of Charlotte Cracker. I can't remember what matchup it was. It might have been against Ace or Law, but getting that double attack through really accelerated the victory. And then 3 copies of Smoothie. Now, Smoothie's a pretty cool card in the right situation where you can take a life and then she gets an extra 2,000 power. I don't think I ever played her during that tournament. Circumstances were never right, but it can be good when your opponent isn't taking your life and you want to get to 3 so you can start using your leader ability. She can help you fix that situation. 3 copies of the Rush Katakuri. He's a great card, really. Even if you can't get the rush off because you have more life than your opponent, he's still 4 costs for 6,000 power, and you get to look at a life from either yours or your opponent's. So it's a pretty useful card. The Big Bomb is, and it's what makes this not a budget build, unlike the homies build. 3 copies of Katakuri. I might have considered a 4th if I had a 4th, so I've only got the 3 at this point in time. Cards are great. It was so useful. It was funny in the law matchup. He had a block of law out, and I played this, and he was just like straight away going to put it in his life. I'm like, no, mate, what are you doing? I didn't say I wanted to do that. I put my copy of Pudding back into my life, and the reason I did that was because I had attacked with the Pudding. I attacked one of his weenies that he'd left in rest mode. And so Pudding was just going to die next turn anyway. I didn't really care about his block of law. He was going to die anyway because I was going to force him to block. So I played the patient game, and I'd rather not give him more life in this point in the time of the game. Later on, I had to do it, but for this moment when I played him, I wanted more life, and I wanted that Pudding back to search with again, or counter with. I think I countered with her in the end. But he was people were watching me now befuddled, but it worked out, so it's a valid play. And this won't shock anyone, but 4 copies of 10 cost Big Mum, so it's a really good card. You gotta be careful when you play her, because if you do it at the wrong time, you leave yourself with no Don. Your opponent has enough resources to clap you back. That could be an issue. In the game against Katakuri, I did play 10 cost Big Mum and then lose, but he was like, I knew if you played it, you'd lose. I'm like, I knew it too, but I also knew if I didn't play it, I'd definitely lose. It was a situation of where maybe I'll get really lucky and the life that she puts on top of the card she puts on top of my life will have a good trigger that helps me. It didn't happen, but it could have. And that was all I could do at that situation. I was going to lose regardless. But she also won me a lot of games, like against Ace and Rob Laucci, definitely. So now we're on to event cards, and 4 copies of Ikoku Sovereignty. It's pretty good. The trigger, like I was talking about earlier, helped me in the game against Law, so it's pretty good. If you have you're attacking with your Big Mum leader and you've attached 2 Dons, so you're going to swap back something into it, and you can't really spare the Don to have 4 Don up for 2 Ikoku Sovereignties or whatever, or even none. You could swap this into your life and then deliberately, so you can have that trigger go off, and that's fine. It's the same situation as defending attacks, just recovering one. If you've got the cards in hand to trash for it. 2 copies of Thunderbolt. Now, I'm starting to grow into liking this card, especially with this Big Mum leader, because of it is like you have to trash a card from your life to use it, and it kills a 5 cost or less. That makes it better than Buzzcut and Mochi in some regards, because Buzzcut only works if you have less life and your opponent only hits 4 cost or less. But you do have to trash a card from your top of your life, so that kind of sucks if you don't want to do that. But you can swap it into your life intentionally with the Big Mum leader, and then the trigger doesn't have that worry. It just KOs something with 5 cost or less. So it's pretty good in mono yellow Big Mum. And then this was like a powerhouse of a card. This was like it really affected how all of my games went. 4 copies of Soul Focus. I'm never paying 5 for it unless I've got really nothing better to do with my dog with it. I'm putting it in my life on purpose with the leader. And then, so my opponent attacks me, they trigger it, and they're like, fine, have that life back, but attack meant nothing. So, yeah, very good card. It's definitely like at its best when you can intentionally put it in your life with the Big Mum leader. So it's not as good in Katakuri or Black Yellow Big Mum, but Soul Focus is where it's at with Mono Yellow Big Mum. So that is the entire list. It's pretty fun. I'm not really seeing people rate Big Mums much because Katakuri is the obvious meta choice. But I think from how I played her at Store Champs, you can really take, if you want to be a Big Mum player, trust me when I say she's pretty good. She doesn't have like the obvious powerhouse of Katakuri's effect, but you mitigate that with like being more intentional with what goes in your life, and that's a good trade-off. And in some ways, if it suits your playstyle, it's better. You know, Katakuri is like 7,000 power attack for 1 dot, so that's pretty cool. You have to always see what life is coming. You can't really intentionally put cards in your life unless you use Daifuku, I think, can do it, but that's clunky. And you might notice there's no 7-cost Big Mums in here, and she's just not quite as necessary in this build as she was in my homies build. So in my homies build, I wanted her for maximum, like, you know, Big Mums, so I can get the homies powering her up. In this build, I've swapped her out for Katakuri, and Katakuri is doing a certain job. Like, he is also able to, he can heal me or he can remove something of my opponents, so that's a utility that Katakuri is specifically good at. In the 10-cost Big Mum, she's doing the best of both worlds of what the 7-cost can do. And then I also have 4 copies of Soul Focus, which is the same effect as the 7-cost Big Mum as well. So with Perispera in there, and Katakuri and 10-cost Big Mum, and however many event cards I've got, it's just a little bit too much without counter power to also put in the 7-cost Big Mum on top of that. So she was cut. That's that. So that is my list. I feel like I did have more I wanted to talk about when it was fresher in my memory, but unfortunately it's gone now. So ask anything in the comments and I'll answer you, because yeah, if you got any matchup advice with it, like I faced 5 completely different decks, so it was a pretty broad range. I got all the experience from all that. The Katakuri game, I feel like just a little bit more luck on my side could have gone better for me. It was pretty much bricky hand at the start, and then could have gone through with a bluff, but the bluff didn't pay off. So there you go. So that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed this list, and I'll see you guys next time.